This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feast and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we do a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games. My name is George Feast.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing New Japan Pro Wrestling Toukon Retsuden 4 for the Sega Dreamcast. How is this game going to hold up? Will it get to play it forever?
Woo!
Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
We also discuss more AEW Fight Forever and our video game toxic traits.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to talk about that one. And please, guys, subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and a review for this podcast on both Apple Podcast and Spotify, and follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get early and ad-free episodes of this podcast for just $5 over on our Patreon.
Ooh, baby.
Patreon.com.
Cheaper than a $5 footlong.
Game Marks Pod. Johnny, Dad, Mr. Clash, Papa Clash. How are we doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right.
It's like a million degrees in both of our offices here.
Yeah. So. I will say this, though. We're going to start off. Have you ever had, as we are both regular seltzer drinkers while recording the podcast, have you ever heard of the seltzer company Waterloo?
Not a fan.
No?
No.
So I recently discovered the ginger citrus twist seltzer, and it's kind of great.
Sounds like something you discovered.
All right.
Good old polar
guy?
Watermelon happening right here.
Polar's great. Can't go wrong with polar. But
Good old polar watermelon. I actually had a Prime for the first time the other day, and
thoughts?
No.
Oh,
No sugar in it, but so sugary somehow, which is like, what is it?
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah, I kind of got the feeling from that. But I got to tell you, I got to express my unbelievable jealousy because you have dived in a bit further than I have into a game that I think everyone in the wrestling world had high anticipations for, high hopes for, and is seeming to enjoy very much, and that is AEW Fight Forever. Let's hear Johnny Clash's impressions now that we're a week in. Aside from the obvious of the creative suite being a little thin, how are we feeling a week later?
Well, I have had so much fun. I've been doing Road to Elite. I've been just going in, doing death matches, ladder matches. It's so much fun. Today, as we're recording, they announced Stadium Stampede Battle Royale, which is a 30-wrestler free-for-all battle royale. You could equip different things, loadouts. It looks so cool. I can't wait to do that. It's what Rumbleverse should have been, if you're asking me.
Or could have been over the evolution of had it survived.
Yeah. I put up a poll on Twitter today, which, by the way, we're on Thread now for all the threaders out there. What are they, threaders?
I say threadheads.
For all the needles out there. Oh, that's you. You're the needle. So I put up a poll out of the option, it's perfect, fun, but needs polishing. I'll wait for a sale and no interest. We got 55 votes with 6 days left. And fun, but needs polishing is in the lead by a whopping 65%. So I think a lot of people are having fun with this game. From what I've seen, pretty much like AEW itself, there's a lot of haters because it's not WWE, and that's really it. There's no rhyme or reason for it. If it's not your type of wrestling, that's completely fine. Change the channel. Imagine if Twitter was around when WCW existed. My God.
I think
that would have been terrible.
We live in an age where everyone can have an opinion, and everyone's opinions are way more accessible, for better, for worse. And hey,
right, but like half the shit I've seen is I saw one guy commented on someone's page like, this game is trash. And the next comment down was him saying, I'm going to wait for it to go on sale. I'm not paying for it. So how do you know it's trash? You just admitted you didn't even pay for it.
Mm.
You didn't play it. So this is what we're dealing with. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the sales. From what I've seen from a lot of people is it does get a little stale. It does get a little boring once the nostalgia wears off. But there shouldn't be nostalgia. You know, like you used to know Mercy and like that was fun. But
is it nostalgia or is it anticipation? Is it the hype?
It's a new game. Like it's the hype of a new game, but I guess there's not a lot to do yet, but there will be. But as far as we know, like in Road to Elite, there's a lot you can do. A lot of branching stories. There's the Dark Order. If you pick specific wrestlers, then they get their own like little story, like Chris Statlander, or like Silver, Jeff Hardy. Like they have their own unique stuff. You really have to dive in and go through it all. But I also feel like if you're sitting there for hours upon hours playing one game, and it's this wrestling game that doesn't have the My Rise, the My Faction, like the 17 different options, then what are you going to do?
I saw someone the other day, and I don't know if this was like a wink and a nod to them actually knowing this, or if it was just a genuine review. But this person was tweeting about how the playthrough of the story modes felt a lot like the storylines from SmackDown vs. Raw, like 2009.
Guess what? Same writer. Which we hope to have Justin Leeper on here soon. Hopefully we could work that out.
And that made me laugh because they were just like, a lot of the things that I like in this game are a lot of the same things that I liked from, the later entries of the SmackDown vs. Raw series. And I was like, if you only knew, dude, like that's why you like it.
Yeah, also the story mode, I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I might have. It reminds me of a lot of the UFC stories, which I love and I play it a lot of. So keep it coming. Hopefully they expand them in the future, which I believe they are in talks too. So
now, before moving on, I got to ask you one final question about Fight Forever, because I haven't done it yet. And you just posted a video, I believe today, on our social media. You gotta go check out this video at Game Marks Pod. How is it to break the entrance screen? Is it very satisfying?
It is, because you have. I believe it takes 3 strikes through it.
It looks
a few
awesome.
Germans. Yeah, it's 3, I believe. It reminds me a lot of WrestleMania 19, like putting someone through the glass and all that. So there was like criticism, like, oh, it's just an animation. You can't do your own move through. Ugh, who cares? Like, come on. Are we going to nitpick every little thing? The same people are like swarming to like the wrestling codes page. Like, oh my God, Scott Steiner looks so great. We'll never see that fucking game, but it's okay. Let's all bash AEW Fight Forever, which actually came out in a decent amount of time, even though everybody thinks that it took forever to come out, but it did not.
I got nothing to say to that. That's
yeah. Well, there's one game came out this year.
Yeah, I mean, and you could say what you want. There's a game. Listen, there's a lot of comparisons that can be made between the action figure world and the video game world, in the sense of promises and deliveries.
Yeah. Well, it remains to be seen. It remains to be.
We'll
seen.
see what happens, but
I am enjoying this game, so that's.
And from what I've played, I also have been enjoying it, and I think that AEW Fight Forever is delivering. But
something else, someone in our Discord noticed. I believe.
Oh.
Let me scroll back. A little hidden gem. So, when you eliminate someone in Casino Battle Royale, you unlock gold gear for people.
Oh,
like all gold.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm on my quest right now to try to get Owen Hart. So that's where I'm at.
Because what the unlockables are: Cody's
Owen,
or not Cody?
Owen, Big Show,
Big Show,
Paul White.
And I thought there was one more.
There might be. There's a few others.
Or maybe is it different Cody is also in the store?
Yeah,
that's
It's in the store though. You just buy it.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Well, we're not here to talk all about AEW Fight Forever. We can all night, but we're here to talk about one game and one game only, and that's Shin Nippon or New Japan Pro Wrestling Toukon Retsuden 4. George, are you ready? Are you tippy-toeing? I'm ready. I need a pool right now because it is so hot in here, but let's go to the deep dive.
I want to dilly-dally as less as possible. right. New Japan Pro Wrestling Toukon Retsuden 4. Released September 2nd, 1999 for the Sega Dreamcast. Dreamcast?
The Dream Pass.
Yeah, we've been talking so much about Xbox lately that it's in my head. For the Sega Dreamcast, published by Tomy, developed by Yuke's, and other games in 1999 within the wrestling world. You've got King Soul, All Japan Pro Wrestling, Giant Graham, All Japan Pro Wrestling 2, easy for me to say, WCW NWO Thunder, WCW Mayhem, WWF Attitude, WWF WrestleMania 2000, Fire Pro Wrestling G, Simple 1500 Series Volume 22, The Pro Wrestling.
Gross game.
For what it's worth, if you are not familiar with any of these games, they are all available. Most of them. I think all but one is available in the archive.
I think so. Yeah, that's crazy.
We haven't.
We've played a lot of damn games.
Yeah, we haven't fully done a deep dive into the whole Giant Graham series, but that's coming up. That's another trip down to the Dreamcast in the future, so be excited for all you Dreamcast lovers.
We also haven't played Toukon Retsuden 2 yet, so we've played 1 and 3, so that's in the pipeline as well. So it's nice to jump around every once in a while. We don't have to go in order.
Yeah, we kind of established that early on in the life of the podcast that we didn't plan on doing it, and I think the first big example of that was the SmackDown vs. Raw series. I think the first SmackDown vs. Raw series game that we played was 8, 9?
Yeah, one of those. But just the difference right now, right off the bat, from Toukon Retsuden 3 to 4 is the graphics. It's such a big change in this new one. It's right on par with, I know, like Attitude and all them get shit on once in a while, but if you look at those games now, they are not bad for the time. Nice skins, and I think that this game is very comparable, especially we've grown to realize on the Dreamcast things are a lot nicer than the PlayStation. And we even said right before we got on our playthrough that, why don't we play more versions on Dreamcast, like Attitude and all that?
There's not a ton of them. There's slim pickings.
But I think this game looks very good.
Yeah, I think in terms of presentation, the Dreamcast was I want to say ahead of its time, but I don't know if that's necessarily the right word. But I know that there's a lot of features that everyone kind of made fun of the Dreamcast for that are not ended up being standard years later, or now are even more kind of fleshed out within in the video game world. So it's kind of nice to see Dreamcast finally getting its dues.
Yeah, not a lot of good on the Dreamcast, but this one was decent. It kind of focused more on like realism than the other games. They kind of made it more broadcast style. The sounds, there's crowd chants for each wrestler in here with taunts, like Muto spits the mist as a taunt, also a finisher as well, but kind of weird, but it works, I guess, because it's Muto and he could do whatever he wants.
I say what he's known the most for, so let it.
Classic Japanese entrances. You have the ref in there, good old red shoes, and it's not hard to pick up and play. It's a little like SmackDown. If you look at it, it's kind of like the bare bones of SmackDown.
And there's a lot of familiar animations from within that world.
Slower.
Like, is it? I couldn't figure out if it was slower, like from a match pacing aspect, or if it was slow because the collision detection was weird.
I think specifically the one that I saw that was SmackDown was the swinging neckbreaker. It was the same animation.
Yeah. And the grapple like set up where you kind of just like lunge forward, like lean forward towards the other person.
Yeah, it just very much seemed like that was SmackDown just slowed down.
Yeah.
But it's your typical game. It's the 90s, so things aren't too crazy. But if you look at it, like Mayhem, I would say it's on par with Mayhem rather than Thunder. It's definitely not like Attitude with the million button combos.
No.
We all know we could all play WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy like the back of our hands. We know how to just pick them up and play. I would say it's most comparable to like Mayhem, where you're using pretty much the face buttons and the D-pad, and there are some combos that you can use, like pressing 2 buttons at one time will do finishers and whatnot. It's fairly easy. You have your strikes, your power moves, submissions, and pretty much beat your opponent up. It's very hard to do and pin them.
Anytime that we pick up a game and there's not a steep learning curve and it feels somewhat familiar, not everything has to feel like No Mercy or Revenge, but if it feels familiar in the sense of like it feels like SmackDown, or it feels like another very popular series. Hell, I know it's not a great comparison, but what if other things felt like Xbox Raw, like another game came out and you were just like, looking back, yeah, maybe not the greatest wrestling game. We've both discussed that, but you said yourself, admittedly, you were a big fan of the game when it came out. You had it, and at the time, what if there was a third Raw game?
Huh.
That familiarity is something that's nice. So I think that same thing kind of applies here, where you're just like, oh, like I kind of know what's going on here.
Imagine there was a third Raw game instead of WrestleMania 21. Which was also a flop. The whole Xbox
I would
series
love to do a whole like fantasy book episode of just like I would love to have have an episode where we talk about like what ifs and talk about backlash.
Marvel What If?
Do we want to do Game Marks What If?
Just saying.
Maybe
we could do a little series.
Maybe we phone in some opinions from some familiar faces from the pod. Could be interesting.
Something to think about. Well, let's get into the game modes here that we have in this game. You have your exhibitions, which are singles matches, tag matches, battle royals, which is 4-person elimination, your tournaments, your leagues, and your elimination match. Now, you also can go for the IWGP titles, which are the heavyweight singles or tag, and the juniors singles or tag. You have a series, which is the G1 Climax, the SG Tag League, the best of the Super Juniors and Super Junior League. I always like that, these have been around forever. They're still very prevalent now. I like that they're in all the games, and even some Fire Pro games, they're in there.
Oh, yeah.
There's also a strangely named mode called Challenge the Burning Spirits, where you could do a single or a tag. Now, the difference
Burning
between...
Spirits is not something, lost on this podcast. It's a name that comes up quite regularly.
Cover of the games. The series and Challenge the Burning Spirit modes, they're pretty much the same. They allow you to fight multiple opponents, like one after another. You're going in order. The only difference is series is tournament style, like round robin elimination, but the Burning Spirits, once you're done, you're out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do in this game if you feel. See, like, I hate to compare it because this is 1999. But there's a lot to do in here if you seek and you find it, and this is hours of fun. I find that's the same as Fight Forever now.
So the same argument can be made for the 2K series. Like,
exactly. There's a lot of modes in those.
But we have both gone on record and say that like Universe and GM mode, not modes that we typically dive into very much. Like we've explored them, but we're not putting hours and hours into it. I feel like over the course of my time playing the entire 2K series, the majority of it has just been either the My Rise mode or just like pickup matches. But that doesn't make my experience with the game any less. You play the games how you the way that it makes it most enjoyable for you.
Yeah, well, I sat there for a full day just doing title matches and going back and forth with those. Anyway, we digress. Do you want to get into this roster here? It's not as long as a Fire Pro roster.
Speaking of sitting there for a full day, I guess we'll be reading the roster.
Did you like my AI roster last week?
I'll let us know what you think, but I'll be honest, I'm an episode behiand.
Yeah, I know you are. Anyway,
I'm always an episode behind.
I used Google to say it, and
you sped it up?
Sped it up a little bit. So it saved us a week from reading 200 names, and hopefully people did what I did and just pressed that 10-second forward button.
Say the 15-second button, yeah. All right. You want me to do it?
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to sit back.
Okay. You sit back for this part. I'll sit back a little later. Your roster for New Japan Pro Wrestling Toukon Retsuden 4 is as follows.
Loudest Ice Cube ever.
It's fine. New Japan. Under the New Japan, you have Riki Choshi. I can't talk today. Riki Choshu.
You want me to do it?
Nope. Riki Choshu, Yuji Nagata, Kensuke Sasaki, Masa Saito, Shinya Hashimoto, Tatsumi Fujinami, Shiryo Koshinaka, Kengo Kimura, Junji Harada, Osamu Kido, Kazuo Hito, Takashi Izuka. I always struggle with that one. Manabu Nakanishi, Tadao Yasuda, Tatsuya Goto, Mitsuyoshi Ohara, Power Warrior, Seiji Sakaguchi, Tanaka, and Tiger Hattori. Under NWO Japan, you've got Masahiro Chono, Kaiji Muto, Great Muta, Hiro Saito, Hiroyoshi Tenzen, Satoshi Kojima, and Akira. Freelance, you have Genichiro Tenryu, Don Fry, Atsushi Onita, a rare appearance on this podcast. Love to see him here. And under the juniors, you've got Jushin
What about
Thunder
UFO?
Liger. What?
What about UFO?
Oh, UFO. You got Naoya Ogawa and Antonio Inoki. And under the juniors, you've got Jushin Thunder Liger, El Samurai, Koji Kanemoto, Shinjiro Otani, Kendo Kashin,
Tatsuhiro Takawa.
Tatsuhiro Takawa, Dr. Wagner Jr., the Great Sasuke, Dragon Kid, and Sasuke.
You okay?
It's the heat. But listen, moving on. Let's talk about something that seems to be a bit of a staple with all of the Japan wrestling games, and that is a fire-esque motif, some reference to flames, and this does not break the mold. Big Four in flames, some overlaid images of the wrestlers with the title, and for some reason, I just love when that Dreamcast logo in the top right corner.
Nice logo.
I just like when it fits into the cover.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good.
Big orange theme on the cover. Big orange backing for the Dreamcast logo. I don't know. As a designer, it made me happy. You got the Tomy in the bottom right. And then on the back cover, of course, as always, you've got the screenshots from within the game and the descriptive text. John, would you like me to live translate here on the podcast?
I would love to. Go ahead.
If
it's anything like the roster, I would just really love it.
I know. You're on the edge of your seat. I'm going to do the thing that John hates, and I'm going to blow up the picture in the notes.
I'm not even looking at it because I know you're going to.
And here we go. So you've got the highest level of standard in the series. Then it says the player's face is created, data captured by a 3D scanner, and then the body created from photographed data. Do not miss the entrance scene wearing a costume.
So that's basically what Nitro and Thunder innovated. Nitro innovated.
Yeah.
Where the whole body, it's seamless, and it's just a picture
it's like that
pretty much
real
slapped on a
face
3D
scan.
model.
Yeah. It's cool.
Whereas
it goes a long way, especially in this age.
Right. Whereas like WrestleMania 2000 is not.
Yeah, it's like artist renders of the faces, which sometimes were good and most of the time were not. The second thing says the popular edit mode has also been greatly enhanced. The choice of edit parts has expanded greatly, and you can hit the mat with your favorite original wrestler. And then finally, support communications unique to Dreamcast. A special server dedicated to Toukon Retsuden has been set up. Compete with an original wrestler by making full use of forward-thinking logic. Show the power of the fourth generation in ranked matches. Which I guess, huge advertisement here at the time for online gameplay, which now not even, it's something that we take for granted. But there was a time where that was a special feature for not only consoles, but for games. And I remember, I think we spoke about it on the podcast at one point or another, that we both had that little block that plugged into the back of the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
And then eventually you got the Slim, right? You said?
I only had the Slim.
Oh, you only had the Slim.
So Dreamcast had the Dreamcast Link, which was $49.99. It was like a modem adapter that went in. But you could also get a keyboard and mouse for the Dreamcast, which was kind of cool.
I always thought the cool thing about the Dreamcast was the memory cards.
Not that you could burn a regular CD-ROM and just put it in your console.
Also, that is also really cool. But let's dive into the actual presentation of the game.
Before you do that, Tomy makes those handhelds, right? Tomy's like they made like
Tommy
all
makes a
those,
lot of stuff, actually.
yeah, like they make like the Mario board games and all that.
Yeah.
But they used to make a lot of handhelds. I feel like I used to have them like laying around my house, like the baseball one and all that.
Tommy's still going strong today.
Not even
too.
like the video game handhelds. I'm talking like baseball with like the little marble that you flung into the.
Oh yeah.
They've been around, man. Crazy they made a video game like this. I also wanted to point out that this game has flames on the cover, which is kind of a flame colored.
Yeah, it's like behind the wrestlers, is that?
Yeah, the second and third, no flames. The first one, flames. So it's a callback.
But it's always that kind of similar theme with all the Japanese wrestling games. They love fire on the cover, and
fire's cool.
Say if it ain't broke.
All right, now get into the art style here.
I mean, you're not reinventing the wheel here. It's definitely polished and cleaner than the ones that came before. But at the same time, like John mentioned before, that face scan technology does go a long way, especially when you see how far graphics have come today. But for, the year that this comes out, we're talking 99. They're not that bad. Like, the wrestlers look like the wrestlers. If you're familiar with any of the people in this game, it's fairly easy to figure out who's who.
Yeah.
At one point in our playthrough, which you can go watch on our YouTube channel, John even says, as playing the Great Muta, look at those Muta trunks. They're the same ones that you see in No Mercy, and they are spot on. It's literally the exact same set of tights, just on a different platform. And I think they're recreated perfectly here. And you very clearly can tell who's who. Every wrestler has two outfits. I don't know if we talked about that.
No,
but that's cool. That's very, very cool. And, paper crowd. It's not the greatest.
Paper crowd. No,
it's
not
Dreamcast. It's a 99 game.
But I'm going to break down the arenas right now because I think they played a big part in it, because they do kind of look like the arenas we know, like Korakuen Hall and all that.
A little bit of customization.
Yeah, like Tokyo A is the Tokyo Dome, Tokyo B, Tokyo C, then there's Yokohama, then there's Osaka A, Osaka B, and Sapporo. But when you go through them, you recognize them. They look pretty cool. They're pretty nice arenas. You see, like, I don't know how to describe it. There's just a different dimension to this game as opposed to the other ones. Like, where even like the shadows underneath the mats outside the ring and like the guardrails, it just looks that much better. You know that we're on the cusp of like PS2 graphics where everything's like pristine.
You know what it is for me?
What?
I think in looking at the screenshots here, it's the fact that the lighting for the crowd isn't the same as the lighting in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Darker crowd, which we like.
I feel like that's always something. Away. Yep, I would say that's always something that every game does. Usually, is that the lighting in the ring is the same as the lighting in the crowd, and that's just not how it is at live shows. A little more
animated than a real wrestling crowd in Japan, but that's okay. It's a video game.
Yeah,
we got to talk about the HUD though. It is ginormous. It looks like
it's the worst. It's the worst thing in this game.
It looks like it's from an arcade. It's huge. It's got the time in the middle of it. Which, do you really need the time that big in a wrestling game?
I don't think there's any instance that you would need it that big, but
which I'm surprised. I'm going to talk about Fight Forever again. There's no timer anywhere when on TV matches end in time limit draws, so that's something that could be added.
It's a good point.
Unless I just haven't turned it on yet. Who knows?
Also possible. But for what this game is at the time, it's, I don't know. There's not a lot that can be said negatively about the graphics, mainly just because I think it's on par, if not better than other games that are out at this time. I'm hard pressed to think of something on the list that we mentioned before, like Thunder, no. Mayhem, no. Attitude, no. WrestleMania 2000. Maybe Attitude. Fire Pro is a league of its own, and the pro wrestling, no.
Yeah, this This was a game I would have loved to have back then, but
Agreed. 100% agree.
also the language barrier is very difficult. We didn't have a translated copy like most people wouldn't, like from the US. And it does come up with the name of the move on the bottom of the screen, which is always cool,
Yeah.
especially for finishers and whatnot. But
Oh, yeah.
it would have been cool to like know what they said. Like we couldn't pull out the translator every time. And even like up top on your HUD, the names are in Japanese, obviously. And when I think it's when the crowd is cheering, it kind of turns like green. If you do the right button combo, it's game over. You could hit your finisher. I did it with Muda. It's great. They're very well animated. There's multiple for each, and it's just cool.
And you know what else is very underrated? I guess at this time, it I don't know. I don't want to say it's a lost art now, but I feel like maybe people don't appreciate it as much now as they did back then. When you put a game in and it's got a cool looking menu screen, when it's got that splash screen of like press start now,
it's cool.
It's something that's
nice.
cool. Yeah. But listen, we've talked about the cover. We've read through the roster. We've talked about the arenas and how the game looks, how the game plays. Do you want to just hit me with it so that
no? You think I just want you to know that it's coming? You're waiting for it. You think I'm gonna? No, I want you to talk more. Did you know? Did you know each wrestler has 3 critical combos which inflict huge damage to the opponent when performed correctly?
Did you know cheat codes are available to unlock all hidden wrestlers and to play as Tiger Hattori, and Riki Choshu?
Did you know Toukon Retsuden 4 is available on eBay complete from $15 to $60? I couldn't find any new ones, so I'm not sure if that's out there, if they come and go. I don't know if they're a hot commodity or what.
I bet there's one graded copy in the world.
One?
I don't know. Maybe
Let's see.
I always struggle with the grades because I feel like sometimes you're either gonna get one that's like super like oversaturated, and then you'll get one that's just like pop 1.
Again, something I don't ever do is collect graded games, but I'm starting to like look into them more, rather not buy them, like look into them and be aware of them. But no, I don't see. I don't know.
I typed in Toukon Retsuden and it says none. But
all right.
Damn.
All right, but now we got all that out of the way. We got all the fun stuff out of the way. It's time now for you to relax.
It's my turn now? Cool.
I hate when you put your arms over your head and relax like that, especially in this tiny little screen bubble on my screen. Just nope. But here we are. We're doing it. All right, so Japanese game. I can't find too many ratings from the normal publication. So I have the game FAQ user rating. The user average is a 4 out of 5 stars, which is considered great, which is better than normal on these games, I would say. Difficulty at 3 out of 5, considered tough. I guess, I could agree with that. Length of hours played are 26 hours, which is a 3.5 out of 5. So I think all right on par with what we've been saying, how we felt during our playthrough. But let's give our opinion, because right now, do that thing where you look at your watch and you say, I'm not wearing a watch, but I'm looking at my arm. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's time to rate the game.
Because I know you love when I do this. John, look at the time.
The game!
I'm going
to Clash.
No. I want to preface this. Shin Nihon Pro Wrestling Toukon Retsuden 3. You hit Play Forever. I hit Future Endeavor. Toukon Retsuden 1. Double Play It Forever, but this was the first time you flipped. So it was originally a Future Endeavor,
Oh.
But you flipped. And it's in the notes with a asterisk. George flipped.
Okay.
Toukon Retsuden Advance, we both played it forever as well. We both like that one a lot. Now, George Peace. Toukon Retsuden 4, will you play forever, future endeavor?
Might as well keep the streak going, right, John? Play it forever. Woo! I enjoyed the game. It's on a good platform. It's a familiar platform. These games have just gotten progressively better as time has gone on. The presentation, the graphics, all of it improves. And there's not much more that I could say about that. So we're going to keep it short and sweet for my review this week. Johnny Clash, I turn the question to you, my friend. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
I'm going to also play it forever. I think during the initial playthrough when we started, I was like, I think this one might be a future endeavor. But as we kept going, I was like, oh, okay, this is easier than I thought it was. It's not that bad. It's not like, I don't know. I thought it was a little difficult at first, but it was not. So I think I would definitely play through the tournaments, WGP title and all that. So yeah, play it forever. Woo! I would like to dive in again.
Hell yes. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this game somewhere on social media at GameMarksPod. With that, John, you think it's time for us to head on over into this week's Soft Lock? All right, the Soft Lock is a segment where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a question to discuss, topic to debate. Sometimes it's just a question of the week. And this week it comes from Will McDonough. Will would like to know, what is your gaming-related toxic trait? And he says for him, one of his is that he is completely unable to pass up a good deal. So he buys more games than he could possibly have time to play. And I will admit, for a long time, that was my trait. I bought a lot of Humble Bundles.
Is it still your toxic trait?
No. I've since had to break myself of that because it got to the point where I just had, because I don't know how familiar you are with Humble Bundle.
No,
I think I've sent you a couple over the years. It's essentially like a bunch of developers or one developer will go to this company and be like, hey, we want to sell like, I don't know, 6 of our games for a discounted price. Sometimes they're indie. Sometimes it's like 2K. Sometimes it's EA does stuff from time to time. But it was a cool thing a couple of years ago, and it was my toxic trait that I just would, every time they released a bundle, if there was one game that I wanted to play, I bought the whole bundle.
I mean, there might be something you want in there, so it makes sense. But yeah, I can see how that could get out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah. You end up with like hundreds of games that you're just like, I know someone, I won't name names, but I know that they listen to this podcast. And they're the one that turned me onto the Humble Bundle, and they're in the thousands of games on their Steam account. And I was just, how do you go through that catalog of games on your Steam account? I'm not that bad, but they've got,
I don't know,
thousands.
I had to play on my lunch break on the Backbone today just to like get some time in.
Yeah, it's the older you get, the less time you have games. It's a sad thing growing up.
Yeah. I think mine is being really hyped for a game at launch and pre-ordering it and then just not touching it for a while.
Yeah, I do that too.
So like obviously The Last of Us 2, I was so excited for. I got it. I pre-ordered it. I got it on release. Physical copy. I didn't start it for like, a year later? I mean, yeah, life got busy, life got in the way. But I've done that with many games over the years. Like, it's not like we're in college anymore where we wait out. Like, I used to wait outside for the Gears of War releases at midnight at EB Games or GameStop, whatever, grab Taco Bell, go home, play it till 4 a.m. We're not doing that anymore.
Ooh, I know what my current toxic trait is.
What is it?
I start too many games at the same time.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Oh, another one of mine is if a sequel comes out that looks cool, whether I've played the first one or not, I need to play the first one again. And that's the same with movies as well. Like, say, another Spider-Man's coming out. I will watch all 3 Spider-Mans before the next one.
It's the hottest seltzer I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know your toxic game traits. I actually asked Twitter today on my own page, like, what did I ask? Let's find it. What's a game you absolutely love and adore but didn't finish playing? And for me, that's Death Stranding. Because I loved it. I love the scenery. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. I love the actual story and the gameplay. I'm just never going to go finish it. Yeah. It's such a cool concept. It's visually beautiful. I'm just not going to... That's it. If I get to it again one day, I get to it, but whatever.
I get what you're saying though. So there are some times where you can get super excited and hyped for a game and like it, but then when you know the playtime that's ahead of you, you're just oh man, this is rough. But so I guess that's part of the experience, part of the fun. But like John said, let us know your gaming toxic trait on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. With that, John, would you like to know what we're playing next week?
Yeah, we're on a roll now. Let's get going. Let's keep it going.
Back in the swing of things, and next week we are going back to a favorite ? Air quotes maybe of ours. We're going back to Legends of Wrestling because we are playing Legends of Wrestling 2 for the Game Boy Advance. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this.
You're very excited. I can tell by the look on your face.
We slightly touched on this when we covered Legends of Wrestling 2, but we're going to do a full deep dive into the Game Boy version.
Yeah. And we kind of had a little handheld month where we did a bunch of the Game Boy games and we didn't really get through all of them. But with that, guys, go and check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthrough videos and more. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our shirts. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for early and ad-free episodes of this podcast for just $5 at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please, it helps the podcast out so much when you comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And also, if you had the time, to leave us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod.
Thread us.
gmail.com and thread us.
I hate that.
Thread us. And we'll peek behind the curtain. We may have a new product, a new sponsor coming on soon. So please be on the lookout for that. And with that, Johnny Clash, whenever you got a chance, Daddy Clash, do that thing.
Game over, Marks. I need a shower. Pool. Slip and slide. Something.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.